So all of these riots are taking place over Breonna Taylor, and they're acting as though she was just this innocent woman. She was simply sleeping within the comfort of her own home when these white racist pigs opened up her door and shot her in cold blood because they hunting black people down. They trying to kill all of our people. Don't you see that? They be committing genocide on black people. They want to murder and kill every black person in America because they hate black people for no reason whatsoever. Don't you see that? Aren't you a woke person or not? Are you a woke American or not? We are under a system of genocide. That's what this is about. And this woman was an independent, beautiful, black woman, responsible, beautiful, independent black woman. And let me tell you something, the system hates that. The system hates when they see a beautiful, independent black woman and they want to murder her. That's what this was. That's what this was about. Can't you see it? So I know I said that in a very joking way, but the protesters, that's what they literally believe. The protesters literally believe what I just humorously imitated. Okay? That's what these people really believe. They have no sense of absorbing the truth. Like, they don't even care about the truth. Here's the thing. I spent some time today reading up on more details of the Breonna Taylor case, and I can tell you right now, Breonna Taylor was not innocent. She wasn't this, responsible, hardworking woman just sleeping on the bed and the cops just broke open the door and shot her for no reason. That's not what this was, okay? She was not innocent. There was a very detailed article that came out recently. It was published by Law Enforcement Today. I will put the link underneath the video so you guys can read it for yourselves. But there is a particular part of the article that I would like to go through with you guys because it really does demonstrate what type of a person Breonna Taylor was. All right, so let's just get right to this. So there was a leaked document, and it stated that on January 2nd, 2020, the PBI team saw Glover pull up to a suspected drug house in Taylor's car. The team was conducting surveillance on that suspect drug house, which was described as a trap house. Now, remember that term, trap house. What is a trap house? We are going to find out. Let's find out together. So, the following day on January 3rd, 2020, there was a phone conversation between a drug dealer named Jamarcus Glover. And Glover was the one who drove to this trap house with Breonna Taylor's car. So there was a phone conversation between Glover and Breonna Taylor. And this is what Glover says to Breonna. He says, "You talked to Doug, Adrian Walker?" And in this conversation, Taylor responds, "Yeah, I did. He said he was already back at the trap." Now, what is the trap? I looked into this. I looked into Ebonics. I looked into a little Ebonics to English dictionary. And what I found out was that a trap house is another term for a crack house. So Breonna Taylor was working in collaboration with this drug dealer, Jamarcus Glover. And she knew about the crack house. She was continuing to deal with Jamarcus Glover. In a conversation a few hours later, Jamarcus thanks Taylor for checking on him. Taylor then tells Jamarcus, "When you're around, I stress more. I just always be worried about you. Not like you and, shit, but just period with the police, like all kinds of expletive." This woman was in a relationship with a major notorious drug dealer, Jamarcus Glover. What type of a person? You have to ask yourself this, because this is not just about the details of the story. You have to look at everything also with a metaphysical, philosophical, moral, and sociological perspective. You got to ask yourself, what type of a person has a relationship with a drug dealer? And then, not just that, what type of a person maintains a friendship with this drug dealer? Answer: not an innocent person. not a moral person, not someone that we should be looking up to, definitely not someone who we should be protesting over. In a separate phone call on January 3rd, 2020, the conversation, now notice, this is on January 3rd, same day that they were talking about the trap house and how Mr. Walker was at the trap house. So obviously these two were talking a lot. Again, what type of a person has constant conversations with a notorious criminal and drug dealer? Not someone who's innocent. It really is that obvious. In a separate phone call on January 3rd, 2020, the conversation ended with each telling the other that they loved each other. So her boyfriend, Walker, they were sleeping together, and within the same year, she's telling this drug dealer, I love you. What type of a woman says to a drug dealer, I love you? Someone who isn't innocent. Also, from January 2019 to January 2020, Glover called Taylor 26 times from prison. So this guy was in prison for a year, and while he was in prison, he calls her 26 times from prison. Another inmate also called Taylor 7 times during the same time period. Who was this other inmate? And why was this other inmate also calling Taylor? Why was there another inmate at the prison also calling Taylor? So let's look at this. We got 2 criminals in prison, one of them a notorious drug dealer, calling up Taylor from prison multiple times within a year. And then on top of that, we know for a fact that Taylor had knowledge of the crack house. These were criminals. This was not racist cops busting open the door to murder black people. This was a sting operation. Police also installed a tracking device on Glover's red Dodge Charger and found that he visited Taylor's home 6 times in January 2020. Oh, so he gets out of prison, and who's he hanging out with all the time? Who's he hanging out with for a substantial amount of instances, of times? He's hanging out with Breonna Taylor. What type of an innocent person has a notorious drug dealer visiting her several times after he gets out of prison? The leaked documents included pictures of Glover picking up packages at Taylor's house. What's in the packages? What's he carrying out of her house? What, boxes of chocolate? Is it little Matryoshka dolls from Russia? Like, what's in the boxes? What's a notorious drug dealer going to this woman's house? What's he taking out of that house? All those times, you have to ask yourself that question. In transcribed conversations from the morning of March 13th, hours after Taylor was killed, Glover told another woman that Taylor had $8,000 of his money. So let me get this straight. This woman dies, and hours later, he's talking about this woman with another woman. He's talking about Breonna Taylor with another woman. And what is he saying? He's not saying, oh, I love her. I'm going to marry her. I'll make her my wife. Make her my wifey, you know. Shorty going to be my wifey. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, that woman got $8,000 of my money. That's what he's saying. That woman got $8,000 of my money. That's all he's thinking about. He's thinking about money. Now, check this out. This is what he said in the phone conversation after Taylor was killed. He says, Bray is short for Breonna. Bray got down like 15 grand. She had the 8 grand I gave her the other day, and she picked up another 6 grand. Wait, what? What? She's picking up this guy's money, and it's not like a couple $100. We're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. So let's see. A drug dealer just got out of prison, and he's handling a lot of money, thousands and thousands of dollars, and that money is being picked up by Breonna Taylor. Where did that money come from? Came from a responsible, businessman. Mr. Jamarcus was a responsible business owner. He was an entrepreneur, Yeah, I think we have reason to believe that there was some pretty nefarious things going on between Breonna Taylor and Jamarcus. He continued on to say in this conversation, Jamarcus continued on to say, quote, Bray be handling all my money. She been handling my money. She been handling my shit for me and cuz it ain't just me. And later, I can walk in that house, Breonna Taylor's house, and go directly to whatever it is, no problem with it. It's very obvious what was going on. She was an accomplice to this guy's crimes. She was holding his money. Now, here's the thing. When the officers got the warrant, that warrant was signed onto by a judge. And it was signed onto by the judge because authorities had the belief that Breonna Taylor was holding drugs, packages, and money for Mr. Jamarcus. And what do these phone conversations prove? That Breonna Taylor was holding his money, in his own words. She's handling all my money. Braby handling all my money. Right from the horse's mouth, we have the evidence concluding that Breonna Taylor was involved with Jamarcus's criminal business. Regardless of the fact that Breonna Taylor's family claimed, well, she had no involvement with Mr. Jamarcus. You know, they had a relationship, but she broke it off with him. But the family also admitted that she continued to have a friendship with this guy. And what was the business of this friendship? It's quite obvious from these phone conversations that there was criminal activity. And here's another thing. Jamarcus Glover was arrested the same night that Breonna Taylor was shot by the cops. In other words, the cops knew what Breonna Taylor was up to, and they knew what Jamarcus was up to. This was not a case of cops hunting down black folks. This was a sting operation. And it's like, why are we rioting for this person? Why are we protesting for this person? Why are we protesting for a criminal, a woman who was having sex with a drug dealer, was working with the drug dealer, having criminal activity with the drug dealer? Why are we protesting over this person? The fact that we are protesting over this person and the fact that we continue to defend people like this is a reflection of the decay of modern society. Instead of saying, well, why was this woman sleeping with a drug dealer? When you have a relationship with a criminal, you are putting yourself at risk to either being hurt or killed by the criminals or other criminals, maybe rival criminals, or being arrested or killed by the state. The fact that we are overlooking this reality tells me a lot about American society. That we actually romanticize criminals. And we do. Americans romanticize criminals, be it gangsters or serial killers. Look at the fact that serial killers have tons of women who pursue them while they're in prison. Look at the fact that drug dealers are considered to be sexy by the rap industry. That's why you have songs, rap songs, talking about how women want a thug and I want a gangster. Look at the fact that we, in the American or modern day dating culture, whatever you want to call it, dating industry, we romanticize the idea of the ruffian male or the criminal male or the male who is dangerous and how that's sexy and attractive. Like, look at the entire decay of this modern society and you can see on this whole spectrum, you can see just how toxic the culture is. The Breonna Taylor protests tell us one thing. They don't tell us that people are just tired of living in a police state, because we're not living in a police state. What these protests tell us is that we're living in a toxic culture that praises criminality and that sympathizes with criminality. Breonna Taylor was not innocent. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.